What up, you guys? It has been a little while since my last video, and for that, I do apologize. I went from being sick for a few days to having um, family unexpectedly visit for the week, which was awesome. But nonetheless, it made the week a little crazy. So I am late catching you guys up on a couple of things. Some you may have heard about some of them by now, but nonetheless, we're going to go ahead. We're going to cover it all. Lots of new developments happening. Honestly, it feels like every day there's something new that's happening. But we are going to cover them as quickly, but as completely as possible. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. And we'll start with the state stuff first, and then we'll move into federal. So, as you guys know, really the biggest thing right now is that while we are awaiting the implementation of the federal deeming regs, what we're seeing is just a lot of the individual states taking their own action to, put in place different legislature. And a lot of it really circles around taxes. The states see vaping as a golden opportunity for them to, enact whatever taxes they want to basically generate an increase in state revenue for whatever projects. I know one state's, like public education and there's all different, kinds of ways that this money is planned on being used. But every state, for the most part, has chosen to kind of handle it a different way. We know about Indiana. They basically shut down all out of state vendors. You have to have a special permit to be able to ship into the state and do business within, Indiana state borders. And that's going to come into effect on July 1st. So as of midnight, first thing July 1st, all shelves have to be removed from every product that is not on file with, the Indiana state. So there are only 6 companies that have managed to get those permits. The rest of us are all out. So that's awful. One of my favorite stores to work with is actually in Indiana, and she and I have just been having a total love fest over email for weeks about how bummed we are. But of course, there are several people that are, down there in Indiana going to the state capitol and trying to turn things around. So we will definitely, throw them whatever support we can and do whatever we can to help them win this fight, because it's just insane. But, with a lot of the other states, it's more about taxes. So you have Pennsylvania is working on a 40% wholesale tax, which is crazy. But even worse, Alaska, not to be outdone, comes out of the gate and starts talking about a 75% wholesale tax, which is just completely ludicrous. I can't even wrap my head around, what that's going to mean for the, brick and mortars, much less the vendors. We're all going to be affected, and of course it trickles down to the customer as well. So really, really discouraging, frustrating stuff. But CASA keeps issuing the calls to action. If you live in those states, make sure you're reaching out. And even if you don't live in those states, it doesn't hurt to contact these representatives and educate them. Let them know your story. Put your life, your heart, put everything behind it. Let them realize, because it's easy to sit there in a fancy little office and make a law and not think about, the individuals that it's going to impact and what that means on a personal level. So really the best thing we can do is share our stories, make them understand, and make it so personal that they can really identify with it. And that, when they go home that day and they leave work, they're sitting there looking at their kids and their wives and, their brothers and sisters and everybody and saying, you know what? this could, me trying to tax the hell out of these people or make, vaping inaccessible, that could be, my wife, this could be my husband, this could be my kids that are going to be affected by this and their health. And I think that'll make the difference. So definitely, make that personal appeal when you're talking to these representatives. And for God's sake, make sure you come correct. There are, I did see a lot of pictures from the VTA conference in DC, and I can't tell you how relieved I was that everybody was dressed in like suits and, behaved so professionally. There was no cursing. There was no jeans and t-shirts and sneakers. Everybody came correct. I understand that, in our industry, we kind of operate a little bit differently, but when we're going into their world, when we're going into, the Hill and the White House and the state capitals, they're not going to work in jeans. They're not, they behave a certain way. And so for that day, it's not going to kill us to, basically acclimate to those surroundings in order to make progress. So anyway, enough preaching. But, definitely you guys, I know this is so frustrating. I know that we all have such a personal stake in this that it is almost impossible not to get frustrated, not to get upset, not to get angry, with so much resistance that we're met with. But we really do have to stay calm. We really do have to stay professional, and just remember that they don't know better. And even if they do, we need to be better. And we need to band together, and we need to have, and use our voice, and they will have to listen. They're already having to listen. Anyway, let's go back to California here for a second. So California has decided to take it one step further. As we know, California is, massively into, preserving public health and that sort of a thing. So on June 9th, Kenny from Mount Baker Vapor wrote on their blog announcing that they will no longer be accepting orders into California. This was a direct response to the new law, SBX 2-5, that was signed into effect by Governor Brown. And what that did was classify vapor products as tobacco products. They have pretty stringent guidelines and restrictions on tobacco products already. So by classifying vaping products under that umbrella, it has seriously affected, to be honest, vapors' rights. I mean, they went above and beyond with just all the different requirements. They have said that all vapor products, including zero-nic e-liquids, are now considered tobacco products. They raised the vaping age to 21 unless you are active military, or you can be 18 and work in a vape shop, but you do need written confirmation from the state legislative council. That was a verbal confirmation, so there's not any written confirmation, so I wouldn't get too excited about that until we get some sort of like official confirmation from them. But they also said that this is the kicker. So you can vape pretty much now in your home, in your car, as long as there isn't, a child present. And you can vape in a vape shop as long as 60% or more of their sales are vapor products. What you can't do is vape in public parks, playgrounds, schools, housing and apartment complexes, inside any other place of business. Some of the others make sense, like group homes and foster care homes and daycare centers. Those are typically for youth, so obviously that's not a favorable place to be vaping to begin with. Farmers markets, you can't vape. So really, it says including but not limited to. So it just says you're no longer to vape in public places. That to me is insane. So the way that I'm interpreting that is I can't walk outside of my house in California and vape on the street. I can't go for a walk around the neighborhood and vape. I mean, it's crazy. I know a lot of people have a really difficult time not vaping inside of establishments. Well, now can you imagine you go in, you have this huge meal, whatever, you know, or you're out for some drinks or what have you. You go outside, you want to have your vape, public place, you can't. It's just so crazy and so far overreaching and such an infringement on just, you know, personal rights and I mean obviously vaping rights, but I mean it's insane to me. But they passed it. And so that is all now in effect as of June 9th. But wait, there's more. October 1st, child-resistant packaging is required. Compliance must there is a CRP compliance that must be submitted by July 1st, 2016, and there is a free webinar for SFATA members on how to comply. If you guys haven't gotten that or can't find that, hit me up. I'll be happy to send you the link. And then we're good pretty much for the rest of the year in California, but then January 1st, 2017, tobacco licensing requirements become effective. Remember, we're now a tobacco product. So there is a licensing fee that needs to be paid, and it goes from a one-time fee to an annual fee. So it is a recurring fee. And the licensing kind of requirements and process is unclear at this point. They have not yet released the details for that. I know that SFATA is working on that. So a lot going on in California. It is a travesty. All I can say is, Governor Brown, I hope you enjoy your time in the state government, because I don't think you're going to be getting a lot of votes the next time around. And I hope that honestly, I just hope that there's enough support for, changes to this bill that something will be done, because it is absolutely insane. We also had the whole thing with West Virginia happen. So as you guys know, Delegate Faircloth has been, touting his abilities to affect change and fight for vapors' rights, not just in West Virginia, but on a federal level. So he was off at a vape meet in Ohio this past weekend. And while he was on stage, talking to the masses and telling them all about how he's going to, save vaping and be the champion for vaping rights, all hell was breaking loose back home in his home state. So basically what happened, Delegate Faircloth had the vaping tax came back. The vaping tax that had previously been defeated in West Virginia came back. Delegate Faircloth had filed a proposed amendment to remove vapor products from this particular bill. It was refused, and basically what happened is that there was Senate Bill 1013. That was the budget bill. Part of that was Senate Bill 1012. 1012 was basically to impose higher taxes on vaping products and classify vaping products as tobacco products. So while Delegate Faircloth was away, that Saturday, the Senate Bill 1012 was passed through a voice vote. The new bill was voted into effect during a Sunday session, and it was publicly announced this past Monday. It was introduced by the governor. It passed 63 to 45. 42 of 64 total Republicans voted for the bill, and 21 of 36 total Democrats also voted for the bill. There were 2 delegates that were absent and failed to vote. So West Virginia is now one of only 5 states to enforce a sin tax on its residents, and they have the third highest tax rate in the country for vapor products. What they've done is they've said, okay, we're going to put an extra 65-cent tax increase on every pack of cigarettes sold, and we're also going to charge 7.5 cents for every milliliter of e-liquid sold. Which in their, point of view is extra devious because it's not a flat tax on, a total bottle, it's per milliliter. So it's especially damning. And this is all on top of the 6% sales tax already in place. Now also wholesalers and businesses, if they want to continue to do business in the state of West Virginia, they have to obtain approval by the tax commission effective July 1st. Details are not yet available on this process, but I'll absolutely update you guys when they are available. So to be blunt, this sucks. West Virginia is, again, kind of, this is very reminiscent of Indiana, where July 1st, you can't sell in the state without a special permit. They've kind of fallen suit and also on top of that, added in just an extra tax as a further insult. So super frustrating. Also super frustrating that Delegate Faircloth, for all of his claims to support and, the guy is saying he can affect change on a national level, and then while he's out, on stage at a vape meet talking about, his wonderful capabilities for advocacy, his home state's kind of falling by the wayside. So obviously, that just further increases concern over, his place and his abilities in the fight for advocacy. But nonetheless, we also have Detroit is now in the news at the moment. Yesterday, Greg Conley posted a picture of a billboard. It was put up by the Detroit Wayne Mental Health Authority, and that billboard says basically equally, but it's meant to read as like, E-cigarette, equally dangerous, 24/7 helpline. So Greg went ahead and posted this on his status, right? People went nuts. People have been posting on their page, so much so that they have actually disabled all further reviews on their page. People have been calling. One lady did put up a post of a video of her calling this hotline. She was able to make no strides. And so, there have been a million shares of this post. There are, a ton of comments. Everybody is really outraged. And then, to add insult to injury, not only do they have the billboard, but they're also making these posts on their Facebook page that are really not, they're the usual propaganda. They're not putting out there the proper facts. So everybody's been kind of rallying together to try to just promote awareness and provide more education to, anybody that's following that page. But, just another example of people kind of spinning the facts and misinforming the public to make them, basically, fight against and not support vaping. So that's kind of the gist of everything that's going on the state level. Obviously, we've got stuff still moving on the federal level. HR 2058 is still going. We're still getting new co-sponsors. I do actually follow all developments with the bill. If you want to do that, go to govtrack.us. You can search for HR 2058, sign in, put in your email address, and they'll actually email you updates every time we get a new co-sponsor or something else happens with the bill. So it was introduced on April 28th, 2015. It says the prognosis is 8% chance of being enacted. However, we are quickly gathering co-sponsors. We are now up to 65 co-sponsors, 64 are Republican, but in excellent news, we finally got a Democrat. Like, I'm so stoked we finally got a Democrat because they've been holding out on us for the longest. And I'm hoping this means that because we got one, we'll continue to get some more. So the bill's been introduced. This is the first step in the legislative process. It's going to, from there be reported by the committee. It has to pass House, it has to pass Senate, and then signed by the president. So we've still got a ways to go, but you guys, all of you reaching out to your, state reps, it's working. I mean, we are getting new co-sponsors every day. So please make sure that you continue to sign the petitions, make the phone calls, send the emails, reach out to them on social media. Anything you can do to support them, and educate them is huge. I know that a lot of people keep talking about having public rallies, whether it's, outside the FDA or the White House. Repeatedly, all of our key advocates, including Greg Conley, have asked numerous times, you guys, please do not do so. These sorts of things do require permits. They do require, approvals and permissions from certain departments. And we really want to make sure that we're portraying ourselves in the right light. When you get a bunch of people together, you don't want anyone to, become unruly or act, improperly. It's really important that this is done, that we're just smart about everything that we do. Same reason why, these individual lawsuits are especially damning. All of, everybody should be banding together and supporting SFATA and CASA and, the Vaping Association and, all of Not Blowing Smoke. All of these organizations are all banding together, and we should follow suit with them to make sure that we're combining efforts rather than detracting from them. The FDA has still not responded to Senator Johnson. His deadline came and passed. The FDA just straight up ignored it, to be honest. There's really no other way to say it. So he's issued a second letter demanding a response to the questions put forth in his previous letter. No word yet from the FDA, but we continue to await their response. And I'm sure that Senator Johnson is growing more and more unhappy and agitated by the day. So I will continue to keep you guys posted on that as well. And finally, so this is something interesting that I stumbled across today. It is on the Federal Register, the Daily Journal of the United States Government. And this notice is entitled Tobacco Product Manufacturing Facility Visits. So this is really interesting, you guys. Basically what's happening is that the FDA Center for Tobacco Products is announcing, I'm reading this straight from the page, is announcing an invitation for participation in its tobacco product manufacturing facility visits. This program is intended to give FDA staff an opportunity to visit facilities involved in the manufacturing of newly deemed tobacco products and their components and parts, including any related laboratory testing, and to observe the manufacturing operations of the tobacco industry. The purpose of this document is to invite parties interested in participating in the tobacco product manufacturing facility visits to submit requests to CTP, the Center for Tobacco Products. So to do this, you would submit either an electronic or written request for participation by August 15th, 2016. So roughly 2 months. there's a website, or you can submit it through a letter to a Rockville, Maryland address. If you have questions for further information, you can contact Matthew Brenner with the Center for Tobacco Products, and it gives his phone number and what looks like a generic email address. So basically what they want to do is they want manufacturers to apply to have the FDA come out and inspect your facility. Now, the way that it's written is actually pretty clever, because it's written more of a, inform us, educate us, host us, and we want to learn kind of a thing. Well, I'm calling bullshit. I've seen what they've done and not to be negative, but I've seen what they've done in, some of the other like webinars that they've done, where, they're like, yeah, call us and here's the hotline, ask your questions, let us know all the information, and we'll be sure to answer your questions. Well, we know that they've been using these questions against us. So I don't have a whole lot of faith in the FDA. I don't think it's wise to allow them to come into the facilities, because I see it as a way to nitpick, and further amend the regulations to work against us. Now, I could be wrong. I honestly haven't. I just found it tonight, so I need to think about it. I need to read everything in its entirety and kind of mull that over and sort through the pros and cons of that. And I'm sure that our leading advocates are going to have advice on how to proceed with that. But my first gut instinct is stay the hell away from me. I just see it as a way to kind of create more problems, and further kind of, just kind of hammer the nail into us. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated on that, as well as any kind of official statements or opinions made public by our advocacy organizations. But in the meantime, I've gone long enough. I hope this helps with bringing you guys up to speed. As always, any questions you have, let me know. And hopefully I'll come up to do another video soon. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later.